Welcome back, everyone. We would be having a session by Dan Mezick now. Dan is a management consultant, author, and a keynote speaker. He is the formulator of Open Agile Adoption, a technique for creating rapid and lasting enterprise agility. He is a creator of Culture Game, a book describing 16 patterns of group behavior that help make any team smarter. And Stuart is going to help us interact with Dan. And he's a coach, consultant, and mentor for many agile teams. So over to you, Dan.
Thank you. I'll quickly pass over straight to Daniel. Morning, Daniel.
Good morning, Stuart. How are you doing there?
I'm well. We're late morning here. Where are you?
It is 1:30 in the morning for me here in lovely North Guilford, Connecticut, USA.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into it here. We're going to talk about how to use open space to get a good Agile adoption. I'm a guy who comes from a software background, and I've been doing Agile coaching for 7 years. So that's what I'm so pleased to be with you today, and so pleased to be working for and with Mezick and his entire staff. So thank you for welcoming me, and I'm happy to present this material to you today and to be here with you. Okay? So if you are willing, then I'd like to agree that we will, cover the why, when, and how of using open space technology to get a good and lasting Agile adoption. Okay? So I'd like to do an exercise with you all. But wait, and when we say go, find someone you do not currently know and explain to them your Agile experience so far in your life and your current role in your current Agile job. So we will take 1 minute to explain this, and 1 minute each, so 2 minutes of totally elapsed time. Okay, I'll put up a quick timer, and we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Okay? Okay, so go.
Okay, so please stand up, find someone you don't know, spend 1 minute explaining your current role and Agile experience, and then switch. Okay, 1 minute left to go, so if you haven't switched, switch over. We stopping now?
Yeah, it's over.
Okay, time is up, everyone. Thank you. Please return to your seats. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thank you for that. now let's take a look at what we're going to cover here, okay? So what we're going to cover today is sort of the tension or the trade-off between invitation and a mandate in Agile adoptions. We'll discuss engagement and disengagement. We'll talk about games and then the differences between practices and principles in the Agile world. And then we'll head into open space and discuss open space and then open Agile adoption, which is a way to use open space in your Agile adoption. And then I'll show you some references and some links. And then we'll give some free stuff. So at the end, there'll be something that you can get that's kind of a gift from me at the very end, okay? Okay, so here's the first thing, right? When you're invited somewhere, like to dinner, you experience a sense of control because you can opt in or opt out, right? And also, when you do accept the invitation and you join with others, so you have belonging and membership, right? So this is very powerful. Invitation. An invitation gets into your head. You think about the invitation, what will I miss if I don't attend? What will happen there? And, you know, what happens if I do go? What happens if I don't go? An invitation increases engagement, and mandates or coercion or manipulation tend to decrease engagement. Now, engagement is very, very important for Agile adoptions because the people who do the work must be engaged in the Agile work. Okay? So now let's take a look at games, right? So games are very interesting. Good games have a clear goal, always have a clear goal. Bad games don't. Good games have clear rules, bad games don't. Good games have good feedback and progress tracking, and games that are not fun to play have very little feedback. And then the last part, opt-in participation. It's part of every good game. If you've ever had a little kid make you play a game, you know what I mean. So this whole idea of opting in and choosing is a very important part of any good game. So if we look at Scrum, what we find is that Scrum is actually a game. So if you go to the Scrum guide, it says the definitive rules of the game, right? So Scrum is a game, except we make it a mandate instead of making it optional. So we tend to force Scrum on teams. And when we do this, the teams do not feel a strong sense of control or belonging because they're not making any decisions, and it's also they had no part in the decisions that were made. So this low sense of control and belonging will actually kill your Agile adoption. It's important to know that Scrum has a very nice goal, very nice rules, and very nice feedback. But the fourth part is missing. So see this slide about the 4 parts of a good game. The first 3 pieces are there, but when we force Scrum on a team, the 4th part, opt-in participation, is missing. Okay, so now if we look at our Agile adoption as a game, we can see that if it's mandated, that is if practices like Scrum are forced on teams without their consent, then the teams will have a low sense of control, no sense of belonging whatsoever. There's no opt-in participation, so these feelings tend to encourage disengagement, resentment, low morale. So none of this is good for your Agile adoption, okay? So in general, mandated practices are not effective. Now, here's some people from the Agile Manifesto. There's a fellow named Andy Hunt who signed the Agile Manifesto. And he says in a recent blog post, which I showed the link right here, I am one of the authors of the Agile Manifesto from 2011, or 2001, I mean. It says, I think it provided a way of making the world of work better. But in the 14 years since then, we've lost our way. And then he goes on to say, so instead of looking up to the Agile principles and the abstract ideas of the Agile Manifesto, folks get as far as the practices and no further. This is a serious problem. This fellow is another manifesto signatory. His name, you might know, is Martin Fowler. Martin Fowler, in 2006, he wrote an essay called The Agile Imposition. In this essay, he says, imposing a process on a team is completely opposed to the principles of Agile software and has been since its inception. And then he goes on to say, people and how they work together is the primary factor in software development, and the processes are a secondary factor. In other words, the people are more important than the process, right? So here we see Agile Manifesto signatories saying exactly what I'm saying. Here's something else. Imposing an Agile process from outside strips the team of the self-determination which is at the heart of Agile thinking. And so now he is very plain. He cannot make it any plainer. So I hope I've made clear that imposing Agile methods is a very red flag. So here we see the Agile Manifesto signatories telling us that mandates and forced practices are a very bad idea. Okay? Anybody know who this guy is? Jeff Sutherland. And that's me in the red. We're in Boston enjoying ourselves. In the book, The Power of Scrum, which is about a coach and a potential client discussing Scrum, the client asked the coach, should I make them do Scrum? And here's what he says. If the team does not really want to use a method, like Scrum, it will not work. Will not work. So here we have Jeff Sutherland, Martin Fowler, Andy Hunt, all signatories of the Agile Manifesto, telling us not to do this, yet we do it every day of the week all around the world. And then we expect good results. It's not going to happen. So, here's the key issues in your Agile adoption. Does your Agile adoption focus on practices or principles? And then when you do the adoption, is it a push or a mandate of practices? Or is it an invitation to try the practices and experiment with them? Right? So this is not usually what happens. Usually our teams are just told, do Scrum, or do Kanban, or do whatever. This is a seriously bad idea. We know because the results are not good. There's generally poor results. There's very low awareness of the principles in the manifesto, and most Agile adoptions tend to be mandates of practices. So, in this next segment, we're going to take a couple of minutes. I want you to go and find someone who you have not yet spoken to or met, and I want you to go to them and recite just two of the 12 principles of the manifesto. Let's see how good you can do. Now, here's the rules. The rules are, do not look at your cell phone. Okay, do not look at your cell phone. So, Stuart, if you want to take us through this, I'll put up. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to find someone else who you don't know, recite two of the principles, and then they recite two other ones to you. Okay, we're going to take a couple minutes to do that. I'm going to put up a clock, and Stuart, if you want to walk them through that.
Yeah. Thanks, Daniel. So, please stand up.
Please stand up.
Go and find someone you didn't talk to last time, someone new who you don't know, and explain two of the Agile principles.
Find out someone who you have not talked to. Explain them two Agile principles.
And no looking at your cell phone.
No cheating.
And no Google, please. Google is the god, so don't refer to it. Folks, we are talking about Agile principles, the 12 Agile principles, remember.
What it is. So open space is a meeting where everyone meets in a circle. You get everyone in one room, all the stakeholders, all the executives, all the team members, and it has 5 principles and 1 law. The 5 principles, wherever it is the right place. So like right here, right now, this place is good. It might not be perfect, but it's the right place. The second principle, whenever it starts, is the right time. This means that people decide when the thing starts and when it ends. And the normal rules of punctuality are suspended. Third principle, whoever shows up are the right people. This means that the passionate and responsible people who show up are the ones who actually care about the topic. They are the right people. And the people who don't care, well, you know, it's okay that they don't come. It's actually good that they don't come. Fourth thing, whatever happens is the only thing that could have happened. This means that every moment is unique, and even this keynote, it can only happen this way one time, right? And then the last part, when it's over, which means that if it, you know, sometimes it goes longer, sometimes it goes shorter. When it's over, it's over. And then the law of 2 feet in open space, this is the idea that when you are not learning or contributing in a small session in the during the open space meeting, it is okay for you to get up and leave and go somewhere where you can learn or contribute, right? So the law of 2 feet says if you're not learning or contributing, you need to get up and go somewhere else. That's the law of 2 feet, okay? So these are the 5 principles in the one law. Okay, so if, you know, we use open space in public conferences, but actually open space is intended to increase the power of your Agile adoption, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, okay? Now, let's ask some questions. A show of hands. How many people have ever experienced an open space event ever in their lifetime? Show of hands. Okay, some maybe like a quarter or a third. How many people have experienced open space inside their organization during their Agile adoption, like in a retrospective or some other way? Okay, very few people, very, very few. Okay, and the last question. How many of you have ever started your entire Agile adoption in a large attended open space meeting with everyone present? Show of hands. Are there any hands up at all?
No, I don't see any.
No. Okay. So now let's get into this and figure it out. When you put everyone in one room to explore the Agile adoption, good things happen, especially in the beginning. Let's go look. So this is the next slide. There are two essential roles in the open space meeting. The sponsor is the highest authorized person that you can find, like the CEO, the CTO, the CIO, or a high-ranking vice president. They stand up and they authorize the entire event. They welcome everyone. They explain that this is not a day off, this is work, and that, you know, proceedings will be created, and we're trying to solve a problem around a theme. And that sponsor hands over the authority to the facilitator. And then the facilitator walks us through the process and holds the space open so that the meeting is good the whole day, okay? Here's how it works. We start in a very large circle, and there's paper and pens in the middle of the circle. The facilitator explains everything about the 5 principles in the one law, and then invites people to come and write down the session that's of interest to them, and to put their name on it, and to put it on the wall. And that's how we build the agenda. So we go, there is no agenda in the beginning of the meeting. The people build the agenda dynamically as the meeting starts, okay? Here's another opening, and it's a picture of the facilitator explaining the 5 principles in the one law to the people, right? And now here they are opening it up. They're writing down their sessions and putting them on the wall. And that white rectangle, you know, behind the wall, on the wall there is the agenda, where the agenda is going to go. Okay, here's what the agenda looks like when it goes on the wall. So people write their sessions down, they put their name, they might have, and they bring up the issue of interest to them. Here's another picture of the same thing. Here's the opening, they're still creating the agenda here. And then they break into small groups. So, you know, at 1 o'clock, there might be, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, there might be 5 meeting spaces. There's 5 meetings you can go to at 1 o'clock, 5 meetings you can go to at 2 o'clock, and then 5 meetings you can go to at 3 o'clock, right? Open space. And here's more small session pictures. People talking about the issues of concern to them inside their organization about the Agile adoption. Stakeholders, executives, team members, all mixing all day long And there's food available all day. There is no lunch break. There's food all day. And here's a closing circle. At the end, we come back in a circle and we reconvene to close the meeting. So this is at least a one-day meeting, the open space meeting. Okay, so now the next thing, we're going to go deeply into this whole thing about open space. So I want you to, get ready. Okay, here we go. The originator of open space wrote a book. Here's the book, Spirit, Transformation and Development in Organizations. And this book describes open space in great detail. So those of you who know about Agile know that sometimes the spirit can be down, right? We want the spirit to be up. And you get that with open space. Here's the table of contents. Take a moment to just take a look at those chapters and the titles. Okay? And here's a couple of quotes. In our Agile adoption, it's true, the old ways are passing and the new ones are have not yet arrived. We're in between, we're in the open space between the way we used to work in the waterfall way and what might become in the empirical Agile way, right? So this is a very interesting meeting format. This book is not an easy book to read, but I encourage you to read it. You can get it for free online. And this particular book talks a lot about the grief process. So you might not realize it, but when your organization is changing, there is grief in your organization. And this open space meeting format helps you to deal with the grief, okay? Here's the book right here. You can go and where it says in red, Spirit, Development and Transformation. If you Google that, you can get this book for free online. I suggest that you go look for this book and print it out. Okay? So that's the deep part. Now we will continue on. Okay, so here's the idea with open Agile adoption, and this is how you can really get a good Agile adoption, okay? You start the Agile adoption in open space, you end it in an open space meeting, and then in between for about 60 or 100 days, the people do experiments with Agile practices. But it has to be only practices that support the Agile Manifesto. So you can use any practice at all for 60 or 100 days as long as it aligns with and supports the Agile Manifesto. And the idea here is during the 60 to 100 days, we're going to do learning, not just delivery. We're going to learn how to use these practices, okay? Here is a picture of how it looks. You start with open space over there on the left side, and you end in open space on the right side. In between, there's 100 days of learning where you do iterations, and you do experiments, and you get direct experience. The leaders support this. They support it with the telling of stories, and then in the beginning the coach is there, and in the end the coaching ends. So the coach moves on to coach the executives or just the product owners or just the scrum masters. But for 100 days you learn how to do these practices. Now here's a story. In the second open space, it's a retrospective on the entire process. What worked, what didn't work, what we want to keep. Okay? So if Scrum isn't working, then we try some other thing. But, we're going to inspect it and give it a chance. And during this period in the middle, we're going to experiment with the Agile practices and learn how to use them, just like Martin Fowler said, just like Andy Hunt said, just like Jeff Sutherland said, just like all the Agile signatories said, right? You need to implement Agile in an Agile way by doing experiments. This is what you do every 6 months. You have an open space event every 6 months. And this is a retrospective and also a prospective. It looks back and looks forward, okay? Each of these meetings also closes out a period of learning and opens up a new period of learning for your organization. It's actually a ceremony or a kind of ritual that you do every period, every so often, like in January and July. Okay? Here's some people that we did this with. This is some of the problems that they had. We had a very good time bringing open space to that organization. Here's another organization. We did the open space outside. And you can see the posters with the 5 principles and the 1 law. And there's their agenda, and they're planning out their day. It's a very wonderful meeting, and it really creates a very good vibe, a very good feeling, okay? The third one is a company called ASCAP.com. They're a well-known company in New York City. Here's their agenda that they built. Here's the small sessions. Now, one of the things about open space is it generates these feelings of what we call communitas, or the spirit of community. So open space has a way of bringing everyone together, even people who disagree. So one of the cool things about open space is you want to have the high potential for conflict. That's one of the reasons that you want to have a meeting like this. And it has to be a matter of high importance, like how are we going to do this agile adoption? Okay, so there's the picture again, and the other picture. And now in open agile adoption, any framework is okay. Scrum, Kanban, SAFe, discipline agile delivery, less, any framework. But the people must try it for themselves as an experiment, and it cannot be forced, because that just kills engagement, okay? So we do experiments, we invite the people to try them. This is how you get a good agile adoption, not by forcing agile practices. Okay, and now, these are the keys. Motivated people are engaged, engaged people are willing, and willing people opt in. As we know, every good game has opt-in participation. So now we want to play another game with an exercise. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to spend a couple of minutes, go find someone that you haven't met yet, and go and tell them, is your agile adoption mostly a mandate in your opinion, or is it mostly an invitation? Are you being invited to try practices, or are you being told what practices to do? Go find someone you don't know and take a minute to go explain to them whether your agile adoption is an invite or a mandate, and then they'll answer you, and then Stuart's gonna walk us through the building of a visual artifact. Okay, so I'm gonna put up the shot clock now. Go ahead and go find somebody, and tell them if your agile adoption is mostly an invitation or mostly a mandate, and then we're going to find out and plot it on a graph. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. Get up from your seats. Find someone whom you have not met yet. Tell them whether your agile adoption has been a mandate or an invitation, including from you.
How much time do we have?
10 minutes.
Okay. We're just going to make it.
Okay, Daniel.
Okay. Now.
Time up, guys.
Okay. All set?
Yes.
Okay. Now, with a show of hands, how many people believe that their current agile adoption is mostly a mandate of practices? Okay.
Okay.
Now, how many people believe their agile adoption is mostly an invitation to experiment with practices?
Okay, I'd say it's about 80% mandate and 20% invitation.
Get their agreement that that's true. Now, ask them.
Would you agree with that? Would you say about? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Put the thought on the graph. Now, in the next step, we're going to do this exercise again. This time, go find someone you don't know and ask them and tell them if your agile adoption is mostly about practices or mostly about principles. Okay?
Okay, so
go ahead. 2 minutes.
We'll spend 2 minutes. Tell the other person.
Find someone whom you have not met.
Is your adoption mainly about practice? Yes. 90%. Shall we go with 85-15? Is that? Yeah. Okay, so about 85% to 15%.
Okay, so we know by looking at this graph now that Stuart is working on, that what we are actually doing is we are mandating practices the exact opposite of what Martin Fowler warned against. He actually said that this mandate of practices is opposed to the spirit of agile principles and has been since the inception of the manifesto. So we need to make a change. Here are some links that you can go to. The most important link is the one second from the bottom, openagileadoption.com. It's where you can learn more. openagileadoption.com. The conference organizers will have these slides for you with all the links. You can check them out, okay? openagileadoption.com. Go there and learn. And now, the last thing here is that if you send me an email with Southeast Asia in the title, I'll send you a PDF with sample chapters from my book, the Open Agile Adoption Handbook. So all you need to do is send me an email, and I'll send you the PDF, okay? If you attended the conference here. And you are all such a kind audience. I'm so grateful for you and for the opportunity to be with you here today. And I believe we're out of time, and so I thank you for your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Penalties imposed or rules are enforced, we follow rules. And that's the reason Indians abroad are the most law-abiding citizens. But in India, we don't follow rules, including most of us in this room. So we are the ones who are part of the IT community, the knowledge industry. Do you think giving an open space like this, asking people to come only if they want, do you think it will work in an egalitarian, in a hierarchical culture like in India? Have you given some thought to that?
So, Stuart, could you repeat the question for me, please?
Yes, so he's saying that in India they have a hierarchical culture, whereas somewhere in the US it's much more individualistic, much more egalitarian.
Okay, I got it now.
Okay.
Here's the answer to this question. At the open space meeting, the highly hierarchical, highly authoritative sponsor stands up in front of everyone and welcomes them and tells them that this is an authorized meeting and that everyone has a right to be here. In other words, this sponsor invited you. And when they stand up and they authorize the meeting, it makes it a safe meeting. It makes it safe to go in and say what you think and what you want and what you feel, because authority is inviting you to come and do that, okay? So open space is not a revolutionary thing. We require authority to authorize the meeting. This honors the hierarchy, it honors the authority chain, and it makes it safe and okay for everyone to be at the meeting and to be themselves. Okay? Next question.
One here. Other.
Okay. Lalita?
Hi, Dan.
Hi.
Our agile principles talk about building highly motivated teams. I wanted to understand from you, as an agile leader, the style of motivating our teams should be consistent across geographies and cultures, or it actually depends on the culture or team you're dealing with?
Stuart, could you repeat?
Correct me if I have this. So you're asking, do you need to start with a motivated team, or are we trying to create motivated teams regardless of where they're located?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Is that clear?
So, in open space, the people who come are the people with passionate responsibility around the theme. So, every open space meeting has a theme, and this theme might be, how can we improve our agile adoption, or can we use the manifesto in our company to improve, or what what are we going to, how will we use, why Agile, or some question like this. So what happens is, when authority invites you to the meeting, only the people that feel passionate and responsible about the theme come accept the invitation and join. So without passion, nobody cares. And without responsibility, nothing gets done. So when the passionate and responsible people come together, by definition, they're all motivated. So the open space meeting gathers together the motivated people. Remember, people who are not passionate and responsible are not required to attend this meeting. It's an opt-in, opt-out meeting. So it has to be okay to opt out. If you do an open space and you make it mandatory for everyone to attend, that is not open space, okay? People need to be able to opt out. So if people can opt out, the only people who are there are the people who really care. That's all the motivated people. And remember, the manifesto says, build projects around motivated individuals. That's one of the principles, is it not? So open space helps us to achieve this, okay? Thank you for your question. Can I take another one?
One last one. Okay. Yes, please. That side.
Hi, Dan. With a lot of service-oriented companies, multiple vendors in one team, how practical it is to implement this? Like, there are many vendors who will be working in one team for a customer in Agile. In that, how practical this particular open space is practically possible?
Stuart, could you repeat?
So he's saying here we have many vendors that will actually collaborate as one team. Is that what you're saying? Yes. And then your question based on that is this applicable? Yeah. Is this practically possible when you have that situation?
Look, I want to tell you right now, if all the developers from all the vendors that are part of that team are all in one room, and all of the authority figures are in that room, and all of the managers and executives and the team members and all the stakeholders and maybe even some of the customers, when they're all in that one room and they're experiencing that open meeting, great things happen, because there's a lot of mixing of ideas, there's a lot of differences, there's a lot of passion and responsibility, and you know what? People can figure it out. So when you put them all in one room and you turn them loose to solve a hard problem using this meeting format. Now, this meeting format is a structured format. It starts in a circle, it ends in a circle. There's small groups, there's small sessions in the middle, and it's governed by the theme and the 5 principles and the 1 law. I would encourage you to try using this small, and then when you see how it works small, you can see how it will work big. So some open space meetings are in the world have been as many as 3,000 people. So this scales, and it also gets the best ideas on the table by creating a safe environment to tell the truth about what you think and your ideas and what you feel. Okay? So do we have time for more questions, or are we finished now?
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for joining. Yeah, thanks for joining and sharing your experiences. Can we have a big round of applause for Dan?
Thank you.